So it was time to start harvesting the rest of our cauliflower. The day before this, I harvested the left side. I started looking at the cauliflower because in my last video, we started banding up the cauliflower so the sun wouldn't turn it so yellow. So I should have honestly started looking at them every single day after we banded them up because I almost let these go too far. But we have been getting a lot of rain, so I was researching overwatering from the rain, and it being hot on most days can start separating the florets and they can go to bolt later on in their mature stage. But I think we caught these just in time. It can be slightly bitter whenever they are too far gone, and I tasted a lot of these and I think we just got them in the nick of time. The left side I already have in the fridge. I washed all of them and I wanted to harvest the rest of them today. This was right before church. We all got outside and it was supposed to be in the 80s that day, so we wanted to go ahead and get all of these harvested. So my husband is breaking back the leaves on this whole entire row on the right side so we can just go down with a knife and cut them really fast and put them into a container. So this is what they look like. Now this side isn't as beautiful as the ones that were on the left side, so this one right here was the only dirty one that we had. It had a bunch of I think slug stuff in it, which is fine. I just washed it all out, and once I started cutting out all the bad stuff around it, but most of the stuff actually was pretty clean. This one's perfect. This one's like a perfect cauliflower, no splitting or anything like that. So we started to get all of these kind of cut up, and the whole family's out here helping. They love to be in the garden helping us, and it was kind of weird. In some spots we had smaller cauliflower heads, and then on other ones they got huge. Now later on in this video I'll show you how huge these cauliflower got. I'm so proud this year because these are actually the biggest cauliflower that I've ever grown. So they did really well. Cauliflower always does really well for me. So these ones right here are on the smaller side, and these are actually, they look perfect. They didn't start splitting or anything. Just fine to put up into the freezer. Now moving on down to these ones. These are probably the worst ones that I have that started to split. And we caught them just in time before they started getting bitter. They don't taste any different than a cauliflower would. So you can see here how they're starting to split. You want to harvest way before this starts happening. And I'm kicking myself because I should have checked these every single day, which, I mean, we've been getting so much rain this year, which we're grateful for, but the rain always can split these and stress them out. Seems early to be harvesting my cauliflower this year, but I guess it's just the rain that we've been getting every day. We literally been getting rain every single day. It's kind of an odd year of rain, which is a good odd year. But you can see here the pot full of cauliflower that we got. This is our second round, and then my first round's already in the refrigerator. And my husband's going through here and cutting out the rest of the leaves, and we're going to feed them to the chickens and the pigs, and we're going to leave the roots intact. I'm going to clean up this row, and I'm going to take off the plastic, and then I'm going to seed my summer cover crop in here. So everyone is on board and helping, trying to get this done before we have to go to church. I like to get all this done because it's supposed to be in the 80s. I don't like to harvest whenever it's really hot. It's honestly best to harvest early morning or really late evening. And look at these kids. They're so happy to help, and I hope this lasts for a really long time. They are just obsessed with coming in the garden, helping do anything that we're doing. And they are just such a big help. They really do help me and my husband a lot with harvesting. They love to feed the pigs and chickens all of the weeds and whatever's left over that we harvest that we don't need. So here I'm taking up the plastic, and I'm completely going to remove all of this plastic, and I need to weed out all of these weeds in these rows. I want to clean it up as much as I can, and then I'm going to throw some buckwheat in here. So buckwheat actually grows pretty quick. It's a summer cover crop. So once I put it in here, it'll germinate really quick and start growing before the weeds start taking over again. So it's just gonna help my soil stay really healthy. Buckwheat is a great summer crop to use whenever you're transitioning your rows, harvesting, and then it's easy to terminate. The roots from the buckwheat that are growing will still feed the microbes and keep it really healthy. So I'm gonna try to seed this tomorrow. After I film this video, I'm going to clean up the weeds and get it in there before the weeds start growing back. And then I'm going to take all of this netting and let the sun kind of air out and dry it out, because I don't want to put the black plastic away when it's wet. But I am going to reuse my netting for my lettuce row. So I ended up going inside and washing these up really quick before we had to leave for church. I wanted to make sure they were good and clean and made sure that there was no bugs or anything hiding inside of these cauliflowers. And then I put them on a lint-free towel to air dry. And I let these ones air dry while we were in church, because I knew as soon as I got home I was going to be processing all this. So this is the first batch that I cleaned up. And then this is the harvest that I had yesterday. These were the perfect looking ones. Look how big these cauliflower are. It's like bigger than my head. And these are the same ones from yesterday that I washed up. They were a little hint of purple, but this is the stage that you want to start harvesting before they start splitting. They're absolutely beautiful. So after church, we came home, ate lunch, and I started in on processing all this. So I'm just cutting them all up into small pieces, putting them to the bowl. And I want to get all this cut up before I start boiling my water, so I can just be ready to start blanching them. And basically, I'm just going to blanch them in boiling water for 2 to 3 minutes, and then put them into ice water to stop the cooking process. Then lay them on a towel and dry them up as much as I can. And then I just lay parchment paper down and put them on the parchment paper, and then I'm going to flash freeze them. And I'm just going to flash freeze them overnight, and then tomorrow I'm going to vacuum seal all of them. I'm going to weigh them out and vacuum seal them, and then that'll keep their freshness for a year. So once I got everything cut up in 2 of these big bowls, I had my water at a boiling water, like full boil, and then I just put in as much as I could. I didn't really want to overcrowd it. I'm getting these all in, and it takes a minute to start boiling again once you get them in, but once it's at a rolling boil, you want to boil for 2 to 3 minutes. And then I was getting my ice bath water ready, because as soon as they're done boiling, you need to put them in the ice bath to stop the cooking process. So blanching is really important just because you preserve the nutritional value of your vegetable, and it helps not lose the flavor, color, and texture, and it helps kill off the harmful microbes that are on the vegetable. So that's why it's good for freezing, and it will keep the vegetables fresher for longer. So I got my first batch in this ice water right here on the left, and then as soon as I get that out, I'm putting my second batch in so it can start boiling. Then I move over to my table, and I have a lint-free towel down. I'm going to continue to get them out of the ice bath just so I can dry them off quickly. And then once they're good and dry from patting them with the towel, I'm going to put them on the sheet pan with parchment paper, and I'm going to hurry up and get them into the freezer so they can flash freeze overnight. So I continued to do this, probably 4 more rounds of boiling this and getting these ready for the freezer. So now I just gotta wait till tomorrow, and I will weigh all of this out, vacuum seal them, and write down the date, and I will have this stuff for winter. And then I'll continue to do this fall. I will plant my fall crop in a couple months and do the exact same thing, and you would be surprised of how much you can put up in the freezer for winter. So this is what it looks like before I flash freeze it. This is exactly how I'm going to put it into my deep freeze overnight. So it is the next day, and I am working on, first thing in the morning, getting these cauliflower vacuum sealed. I'm ready to get this done. So what I'm starting off here is I am using my vacuum sealer, and I make my own little bags. I just cut them up. I get the rolls, so I have to seal them first thing, and then I weigh this all out to 1 pound. And then I just put them in the vacuum seal bags and vacuum them up. And I feel like this is such a great way to freeze anything. I think it lasts longer than just using a regular gallon-sized Ziploc bag. This might be more, costly because you have to buy the rolls of vacuum seal bags, but I really think it's worth it because your vegetables last that much longer in the freezer. So this probably just took me about 30 minutes to do all of this. It is time consuming, it takes 2 days because you have to blanch and flash freeze them overnight, and then the next day you have to vacuum seal all of this. And I did 1 pound each on these bags. That way it's kind of like whenever I'm cooking for supper, I will grab these out, and you can either air fry them or put them in the oven and roast them. So I ended up getting 8 bags of cauliflower, and I think that's awesome. And I have 2 tiny little bags of my broccoli, and I added some of the cauliflower to the broccoli just to kind of get it up to that pound. I did not get very much on my broccoli this year on my harvest, so I just had to add in some cauliflower to it. You can see here that the broccoli. But I am really grateful for the harvest that I got this spring, and I am just so happy that I can put this into the freezer. And then these are my 2 little broccolis with the cauliflower, but I just put the date on there, and then I put spring, so I know it's the spring harvest. So this fall I will do the exact same thing, but I'll put fall harvest on it. So once I was all done with processing all of that, I put everything back into the freezer, and I went straight outside and started working on the row that I cleared out from the cauliflower. And I started weeding everything, and then I kind of just roughed up the soil a little bit, and then I took some of my buckwheat. You can see here all the buckwheat that I'm going to be using, all this seed. And then I just scatter it with my hands down the row. And it's so easy. You just broadcast it. I always broadcast it. I don't have to plant it by hand or anything. So after this, I will take my rake, my hand rake, and kind of just work it into the soil. And we actually made some compost for 6 months, and it was finally ready to be used. I am so excited that we made our own homemade compost. We started doing this last year and really focusing on making our own compost so I don't have to buy anymore. So this right here is completely done, and I'm just putting on 1 to 2 layers on top of this row. So with my buckwheat and with my compost, I'm getting that much nutrients on top of this soil. And here in probably about 2 months, I will be planting my fall crops again. So it's just like a cycle of continuing to keep the soil healthy so the plants will be healthy.